Hey everybody, welcome to the Tesla Life, episode 42 for, what is today? February 21st, 2018. I usually have that right in front of me, but I don't have it right in front of me today. So once again, mediocre host, great panel, good show. Let's continue with that formula. Let me introduce my co-conspirators here, and we can get this party started. My wingman, our man in Canada, he's wearing some kind of red thing. Oh, of course. Canadian hockey. Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Olympic dominance that is Canada.
That didn't take long at all.
Is that true? I haven't been watching. So
well, we're a little bit ahead of the U.S. currently, just a bit.
That would be very dominant.
We're in third position, and you guys are in fifth. But you guys are a strong competitor at the end. So I know that there's a ton of medals coming your way, but I'm gloating while I can.
No, hey,
oh, go ahead, Tony.
The Canadian women are going to get their asses handed to them by the American women. Finally,
there is a bet. There is a bet.
Yeah, there's yes.
What about those cheating bastards, the OAR?
Yeah, how does that work?
I don't know. The Olympic Committee
banned, and then you just come in with a different name, and it's okay.
Yeah, also you can't fly the flag, but yet you can still play. Like it's wrong.
Yeah, but they only banned one Olympic committee. This is a different Olympic committee.
Right. Okay, in 15 seconds, here's how it works. Yes, the Russian Federation was banned from competing, but the International Olympic Committee was polite enough to allow the individual athletes who qualify to be in the Olympics and not be pulled down by other cheaters.
Well, then what's the point?
Well, like I don't know if they're like footing their own bill.
They are not flipping their own bill. I can guarantee that.
I don't get that. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
The man who's just speaking, thank you for that clarification, Mr. Olympics Authority, our man in Chicago, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Oh, I don't claim to know that much. Just there are articles written about what the hell is the OAR.
Okay.
And in fact, there is a band called OAR, stands for Of a Revolution. And apparently the lead singer's phone has just been exploding over the last couple of weeks. So they're now picking back up in popularity.
As well it should. As well it should. And our final panelist, he has 2 Teslas in the driveway, 1 on order. Speaking of which, when is that Model 3 coming, Dr. Evan Fusco?
Hey, everybody. Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe never. Maybe this summer. You know,
you delayed it.
I delayed it. Well, and I'm getting a dual motor anyway, so it's not available even if I wanted it tomorrow. They pushed up the date when it would be available, and then they pushed the date back again, and so now I think it's summerish.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about delivery dates as we get into the show. Let's start off the show with Mr. Coughlin, who has some photos and an experience in the Great White North. Is there? I mean,
absolutely
the friendly part of North America. How's that?
At the Toronto International Car Show, or the Canadian International Car Show, which is held in Toronto every year, the Tesla Model 3 made an appearance. So Tesla had a booth at the show, and they had an X that you can see in the background, the S, which is out of the frame, and the 3. And it was spectacular red. So we had lots of people around it on Media Day on this past Thursday, and I got a number of photos. It's kind of cool. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but look at the frost lines.
Yeah.
They're squarish. They wrap, unlike traditionally that just run horizontal across. They actually do this little bit of a pattern for some reason. But that was kind of different. That came out.
Maybe they just didn't like what. Is there normally like the thick lines down either side and the coils between them?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, Elon decided he liked this one better.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
That is definitely all it takes.
Yeah.
So I was able to get a seat in both the back and the front seat, and there was lots of room, about 6'1", and I didn't have any problems getting in or out or sitting there. And I was able to adjust the front seat and then sit in the back. So I knew that someone of my size could sit in front of me and I'd still be fine in the back seat. So that was kind of cool to test out. And we just got a couple more photos here. There we go. Love those sport wheels, by the way. Yeah, they're $1,500 extra, but man, do they ever look good on a red car?
Nothing wrong with those wheels. No.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with those wheels. So, I mean, you sat in both the front and the back. Obviously, you fit.
Yep.
And we have explained in the past, as you just now did, that you are not the standard Canadian gnome size. You're the extra fun size, super size Canadian.
There's gnomes in Canada?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Wow.
On TV, everyone's a gnome, right? They're all this big. I mean,
Like 1980s Mike Myers. You know.
there we
That's
go.
what it is.
There
Okay.
we go. Thank you. I mean, come on, Rick Moranis, right?
Martin Short.
Martin
Martin
Short.
Short.
Look at all
Guy's name is short. What can you
Yeah,
do?
yeah,
exactly.
What do you expect?
They
Aren't
are.
those hockey players like 3 foot tall?
Yeah, right. Yeah. You mean 6'3" tall? Yeah.
I so don't know
3
anything.
meters.
I thought being small was an advantage in hockey. I don't know.
No. Well, it's debatable. But,
Who's bringing up
there's
hockey?
certainly a lot of big hockey players. But anyways, the car was certainly large enough for me to fit in. I had a gentleman beside me that said he was 6'4", and he was fine as well in the back. So it's a large, it's a large car. And of course, with that glass roof, it gives you that extra bit of headroom that you normally wouldn't have. It pushes the roof a little bit higher because you've got that space between the pillar and the two sets of glass roof that's in the car. So I was very pleased with the size. Now, obviously, couldn't take it for a ride, but it was. They had the stereo going, which was great. Russell, you had mentioned about the stereo
I was just
previously.
going to say, did you get to hear the stereo? How did it sound?
And it was the premium stereo, and it would crank if you wanted it to, no problem there. And it was coming out pretty clean from what I heard. I got to check out the map. The responsivity of the actual screen was very responsive. It moves very quickly. The one thing I did notice, and I talked to the sales representative there, he didn't really know, was that when you're touching an iPad, it's extremely smooth. This screen might have been just the car, this particular car, but it was a little bumpy on the screen, and I didn't. Maybe it was dirty, but it was kind of weird. I didn't expect that.
On Yo-Yo's car, he didn't realize that there was a protective plastic thing on his for weeks.
Right.
I wonder if that
maybe that is the case. I did ask the representative. They didn't think there was a screen protector on it, but you know what? Maybe they didn't know.
So maybe it felt physically bumpy.
Yeah, it was, and it wasn't a uniform bump, so it was almost like it was dirt. Now I didn't try to scrub it off or anything, but as I was moving my hand on the map and shrinking and pushing it out, that's when I could really notice it. So, but again, that could be just this one car. It could be that it was dirty. There could be some sort of a treatment that was on it or some sort of overspray that was on it. Who knows? But
maybe this is a piece of advice that we can give to our listeners, that if they're in a Model 3 and it feels bumpy like this, it might be the protective covering, and they should get a car key and scratch on it and try to remove it.
Tony, the phone's for you.
The lawyer again. Damn it. I hate that guy.
So, if you happen to be out and test one of the Model 3s, try it out. See if you feel that same bumpiness or not, and report back to us either on our Facebook or our Twitter or YouTube. So reach out and let us know. But it was fabulous. The car was great. The seats were wonderful. I was thoroughly impressed, and there was nothing there that would stop me from buying this car. It looks and feels fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
nice.
Well, I mean, it's cool that you got a chance to sit in it finally and
Yeah.
play with the stereo.
That must be nice.
Yeah. If only you weren't in Missouri.
If only you were in
Wonder-
Toronto, Evan. If
Yeah.
only you were in Toronto.
It's a shame you never traveled.
And Evan, it is still here for another, 4 days? If you can get here by Sunday, Evan, you can sit in it too.
You know, even by plane, it would probably take me 4 days to get there from Springfield, Missouri.
I saw a new Model 3 here in Escondido the other day. So, I mean, there's several of them running around San Diego.
Yeah, I know there's some in Kansas City and St. Louis area.
Yeah, I've even heard rumors, seen online references and sneak shots of Model 3s in my area. And not just the Chicagoland area. I mean, the Chicagoland area, that should just be like assumed. I'm talking far north Chicagoland into southern Wisconsin. So I'm kind of impressed by that.
We have a comment in the chat room from David, and somebody will have to translate what this means. He says, some screen bounce issues are being reported on some Model 3s. This is more like a judder that keeps up.
I think he's saying that the screen
Talking about software.
is jumping. Yeah, the software
Yeah.
is jumping, whereas Mark is talking more about the
tactile.
physical.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
can't imagine what amount of biological material could be on that screen. That would make it not feel
Flu
like
season,
smooth
a few sneezes.
Mhm.
Oh God, car shows! I hate car shows sometimes. Jeez, gods.
Wash your hands thoroughly after
Hey.
being in the Model 3
At least you survived.
at
You
a
know,
car show.
still
Yes.
here.
Right. So that's another piece of advice to our listeners. If you go to a car show where there's a big screen that you want to work with, take some Popo and alcohol, put it on a rag, and wipe the screen down before you touch it.
Yeah, as long as it's not. No, I'm going to say that. So our next story is about everyone's. Well, maybe not. You know what? No, it's everyone's favorite Tesla to come.
The Roadster Generation 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The Roadster happened to make an appearance at Tesla headquarters in Palo Alto, California. It just showed up one day. They put it in the main forum and showed it off to all the employees. And was it ever nice? They had it displayed. It looked like it was roped off, and I thought that's kind of strange for people like in the employee section of the company that makes it. Do they have to rope it off? But
Apparently
they did.
So
They did. Maybe they saw that they were thinking about that parking lot video that they had to rope. So they had it there, and of course somebody on Reddit actually took a number of photos and posted it there, so it got to the outside world that we could see it. But what I really find really bizarre, kind of cool, is the steering wheel on this car.
Yeah.
And there's a shot of the wheel. I'm not sure if you got
Right
it, Russell.
there.
We go. We've got that airplane looking steering wheel. And I don't know if you have to make a tight turn and that thing has to twist like around itself. I just can't see that being helpful. Evan, do you think that this is just a prototype and it'll get a regular steering wheel?
I hope not. So yes, it is a prototype. Will it get a regular steering wheel? I don't know.
I do agree with you, Mark, though, that steering wheels like that look great. They work very well in Indy cars that really
Or a
only have
video
to turn-
game.
or a video
Yeah.
game that only have to turn left just a little bit. But you're absolutely right. If you are backing out of a parking spot or making a U-turn or something, it is just really nice to be able to put your palm on the steering wheel and just spin that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. With the price of this car, I'm just thinking, man, that might be a bad situation to have for someone that's certainly people that aren't used to it.
Mhm.
That would be really possibly a bad situation if you're in a situation where you have to move quickly and that wheel is not going to spin as every other wheel that you've had has to this point.
Maybe
Although
for an extra $5,000, they'll sell you the whole wheel.
I will say
It just clips on, right? It just clips on, and there's the rest of the wheel. Yes.
Thinking of Tesla and pushing technology and whatever, when I saw that steering wheel and I saw that big empty space in the middle, my first thought was, that's a display. Wouldn't that be cool? Whether they put a whole round wheel or they just have that segment, to have that spot right there and display some level of information on it.
That would be cool.
No, why would it be cool?
Why no?
Who wants to look at the steering wheel for information?
No
one.
Because it's basically in front of you.
No.
Yeah.
That's where all the Batmobile controls go anyway.
Your opinion is fine, Tony. I'm just going to disagree with you. I'll tell you what, the one thing this car should have that no other Tesla has.
Heads-up display.
Yeah.
Heads-up display.
It's way past time to put a heads-up display in that car.
Yes. Absolutely agree.
Yeah. Now, so the one thing that I find weird about this is we don't know, but this looks like the same prototype that was that stalled, I guess, out in public and then was used at the semi reveal. Does anybody else find it odd there's only one prototype?
Well, one working one, as far as we know. There is a second one, a gray one, that was just, of course, a shell. There's nothing in it but the exterior. But well, for Russell, for all we know, there's 3 red ones.
That's true. For all we know, they have 800 of them somewhere.
Well, I think I'd call bullshit on 800, but
yeah. No, but I mean, I get it. I don't have any evidence. I think I think if you're going to build a prototype, you build a couple of them so that you can do different things with them, bang them around, but whatever. I don't know. I'm not a car maker. So there we go.
But very cool to see that it's there and they're showing it off. And this one was not stalled at the side of the road. So,
well, and speaking of stall on the side of the road, we have a report about a Model 3 that got into a little oopsie.
It was actually quite an oopsie, wasn't it?
It was quite an oopsie, yeah.
Yeah. This particular Model 3 had a significant crash at about 60 miles per hour. It was noted, and I'm having some difficulty on my end showing it, so someone else can show it. Yeah,
I got it. There you go.
So the airbags obviously deployed, and get a load of the front end, the crumple zone of that car. What an absolute mess. And luckily, the occupant walked away, basically scratch-free. So in such a crash, certainly it was great to see that a person survived it quite nicely. And the car took the brunt of the hit and crumpled the way it's supposed to and absorbed that energy, and the driver didn't have to. So fabulous to see. The kind of neat thing about this as well is that the owner was able to share some information, some insight about the crash and what they experienced. And one of the things that you would never think of until this actually happened to you would be that since he was okay, the police on scene, of course, asked him to get his ownership out of the car, which were in the glove box where most of us keep our ownership. And since the middle screen was smashed to pieces, there was no way to open the glove box because in the 3, it's a button on the screen to open the glove box. So he cannot open the glove box. He can't get his ownership or insurance to show anybody because there's no manual release. The other thing he noted was that, of course, with the severity of the crash and the screen being broken, is that a lot of that glass from the 15-inch screen went all over the cabin and actually cut his arm a little bit. So there was this spray of glass that came from the crash. So those 2 insights were provided. So that's a little bit dangerous, obviously.
Wow. Yeah, that's big.
But what was even better was that when he noted this information, Elon responded and said that they would get some sort of coating put onto the screen to protect it in a crash, that it wouldn't spray glass, and he would do something about being able to make the glove box accessible if the screen wasn't working.
I mean, and yeah, I don't want to make too much of the most trivial thing, but honestly, if your car's been in that crash, you can use a crowbar to open that glove box. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. It's the jaws of life.
Yeah, we were going to repair that until you fucked with it.
Yeah, your warranty is void now because you pried open the glove box. Yeah,
clearly was not accident damage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing shot of the interior, and yeah, you can see the screen. It looks like it held together pretty well.
Yeah. I thought I read in one of the articles that the passenger's arm, as part of the force, you know, and the arm kept going, and his arm hit the
contacted it.
Contacted it, and that was part of what gashed.
There's something red
right.
all
Well,
over
you can
the
see
center
the
console.
screen is cracked and bent.
Very much, yeah.
So I believe it lost some glass on it, but having some sort of a, you know, like a safety glass or some sort of thin plastic membrane that would protect it from shooting out further would probably be a good idea.
Yeah. But hey, on the upside, if Mr. Guzik is looking for Tesla Model 3 parts,
we know where
there's one available.
Yes.
You know what? But I'm sitting here looking at that shot where you can see the front and the rear rims and going, that front looks so much better than the rear.
Yeah, you got to pull those things off.
Oh yeah. Oh, those aero covers are
yeah.
It's like the plastic covers that came in the Prius. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't care about 1%. Throw them in the trunk, you know, or whatever. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Well, the next story talks about Elon the quitter. Well, it's actually not the quitter.
Yeah. So Elon apparently is procrastinating. Not really procrastinating. He's launching his next missile.
Missile.
Missile? Right. That's what I'm calling.
Wow.
Rocket, whatever. He's launching his next rocket on Tesla time, which is to say that he scheduled it for last Sunday and then pushed it to Wednesday and is now pushing it to tomorrow. And so here you can see just, you know, one of the rockets, you know, so Elon can stand and say, mine is this big.
Wow.
So
you went there, Tony.
This story's going sideways.
Yeah.
of course.
Where are you going with this?
I gave you the totally wrong introduction. I get that. But
I have no idea where this is going. So anyway, yes. After the Falcon Heavy, SpaceX is going to launch a reused Falcon 9 booster shown. And what is so impressive, one of the things that is impressive about this means that four of SpaceX's last 5 launches have used previously launched rocket boosters, which is something that's not been done before. So that is you know, a hell of a neat thing. This is what he set out to do. He set out to say we were going to create reusable rockets, and that's exactly what he's done. So he's definitely proven that. Now, at first, the sort of official payload is it's a PAZ, and I forgot now what that stands for. The Spanish government is a PAZ. Anybody want to remind me what PAZ stands for?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
No idea.
Right. So
Pause imaging satellite. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, it might be in Spanish because
Pause. It's Spanish for peace.
Okay, so there you go. They're launching Peace at 1,400 kilograms into orbit. But what is actually more interesting is the fact that SpaceX itself has built 2 microsatellites, each at 400 kilograms. And these are technically called 2A and 2B, according to FCC licensing applications. I mean, come on, Elon. You couldn't come up with a better name than that.
Guy names his drone ships better than his satellites.
Right. Or I guess one's 2B and the other's not 2B. So
there we go.
We got
Nice.
But the neat thing is, if you remember from before that Elon had referred to something called Starlink, which would be a bunch of small satellites in near Earth orbit, and that's referred to as 200 to 1,000 miles above Earth, all of them serving as communication satellites. And so this is substantial because the other communication satellites used for internet access, cell phone stuff are they're 2 tons to 4 tons, 4,000 to, or not tons, but 4,000, 8,000 kilograms, and they are up at 200 to 1,000 miles. Wait, no, let's see, 30,000 miles above Earth. Okay, so anyway, this is where it gets a little bit technical. Elon's talking about making a mesh network of near-Earth satellite communication satellites, and that means the to and from in communication is going to be many times faster than going up 30,000 miles above Earth and coming back. So the speed will be faster, latency will be less. And if he can pull this off, then he will be creating a communications company that will rival the established communication companies. And the information will be passed from satellite to satellite and satellite to Earth using lasers, which will deliver more information faster and more of a targeted than the current just kind of shooting stuff down at Earth and hoping someone receives it.
Wow.
Yeah, and the other thing that was kind of neat about the article is it indicated there was going to be a couple of base stations, and one of the base stations, for whatever reason, will be located at Tesla in Fremont. So it sounds like maybe there's going to be some integration with this communication low Earth orbit constellation of satellites with Tesla cars.
Sweet. It could be. I mean, we speculated on that last week, and I want to say it was here. Was it What Drives Us?
No, it was here. Yeah.
It was here. Okay. Yeah. About this communications network and whether or not it could be used for the vehicles with, or not. I
mean, we know how Elon disrupts, existing infrastructures and likes to shake up other companies. And so that brings me to this chart, which I found. And, I hate this thing. Are we seeing all of it here? Because this is the countries with the fastest LTE, download speed. And so Singapore all the way up here at 44 megabits per second. And we have the United States all the way down here at 16.3 megabits per second. And so one of the ideas is if Elon and SpaceX can launch these satellites, then the United States could actually stop being 62nd in the world when it comes to 4G LTE and maybe start competing with Canada up here at 11.
Tony,
twice
your sarcasm is just beyond the pale because there's no way that the United States is ever going to be able to compete on level ground with such technological giants as Croatia, Macedonia, and Romania. Okay, you need to have a little respect for them, and you need to just accept your place in the globe.
I know. You're right.
That's all I'm going to say.
Okay,
I didn't mean to get parental there, but
well, maybe Romania and Luxembourg.
Evan's not having any of this. What? What was I mean to? No.
But to point out that Croatia is 13th, and the United States is 62nd.
Yeah.
I mean, damn.
Just saying. Well, speaking of intelligence, we have another Tesla story about artificial intelligence.
Yes, we all know that Elon is quite leery of AI. He has been outspoken on the subject many times, where he has indicated that the humans as a race need to watch AI because it's going to sneak up and bite us at some point if we're not careful. And his concerns have been, basically the example that I found was really hit home the most was when he was talking about an AI component for, say, a stock market trader, where the goal is to make the most money with the stock market AI system, and it doesn't care how it makes the most money. If it needs to kill some people to make some more money, it's quite happy to do so. So it's something where AI is dangerous, can be dangerous if it's left unabated, if it's left to itself, its own devices. And depending on what it's connected to and what it controls, that can be the dangerous part. Now, Elon has even set up a group called OpenAI, which is a monitoring group that is looking at different AI advancements across the world, keeping track of the advancements and where things are. And recently, he stepped down at the board of directors for that group. And it turns out that because of conflict of interests, because Tesla is working on AI itself, they do realize that they are going to have to play in the AI game in order to keep on top of the developments that are happening in the computer world, which of course affects their cars, it affects SpaceX, it affects a number of things. But they are playing in that market currently, and with him stepping down from the board, that somewhat indicates that they're investigating, and if not just investigating AI, but they're actually participating in it. So it is something that they have to be involved with as they believe. And I just found the article that we've posted here is interesting. If you have a chance to read through it, there's more information that you can go through. But just keep that in the back of your mind as we start to move forward with different AI advancements. Everyone's getting involved with this, and I don't know how it's going to be stopped or monitored, because as we know, people just like to kind of run free with stuff, and if they feel that they can get something ahead of somebody else, a lot of people don't really care how they get there. They just want to get there.
All I know is that when Skynet wakes up, Tesla is going to be the only company to save us. Okay, I'm going to put that out there right now. Okay, February 21st, 2018. I said it. Well, speaking of waking up, interestingly enough, Daimler, and if for some reason, and I won't make fun of you, if for some reason you don't know who Daimler is the company that makes Mercedes-Benz. Daimler has lots of divisions because they make lots of products like any super big successful car company. They have a truck division, and the head of their truck division is a gentleman named Martin Daum. And Mr. Daum was quoted as recently talking about Tesla's new electric semi, because gosh, it competes with his someday coming out soon electric truck. Mercedes is talking about delivering their electric semi as soon as 2021. But the quote from Daum is really the reason to mention this. And it is, and I quote, "If Tesla really delivers on this promise, we'll obviously buy 2 trucks, one to take apart and one to test, because if that happens, something has passed us by," Daum said, continuing the quote, "But for now, the same laws of physics apply in Germany and in California, where Tesla is based." So,
wow.
I think I'm normally on this show. My role is to sort of be the devil's advocate, to sort of be the guy that questions stuff. But this is one of those things where I want to tell Daimler just to eat me. If you've got some facts and you got some figures, put them on paper and publish them, because it's not that hard. You know what I mean? But to say something kind of half-assed like the same laws of physics apply, well, of course they do, sir. But what is it you're actually basing your judgment on? Is it just your good faith that you're ahead of Tesla and that Tesla might be lying? Or have you run some numbers and said, this is not possible? If that's the case, publish the numbers, embarrass them.
Right. Yeah. If he would have come out and said that the current state of technology and the current battery with the density of this into this into this, and you would have to have this many massive batteries to go this far, then yeah, people would be saying, oh yeah, that's right. Wow, when you do the math, yeah, you're right. But you're right. He's just making news is all he's doing.
Yeah. There's another quote farther down. A quote: "Trucks have to run for 1.5 million miles, and then there's a used truck buyer 2 after that." Said Dom, quote, "We don't know for sure how batteries for trucks will react after being in use for 4 to 5 years. It's very complex." To which, again, I want to say there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of battery-powered or battery hybrid vehicles. We have a lot of experience with batteries that get a lot of usage. It's not a mystery. It is genuinely not a mystery. And I don't know why he wants to just kind of throw this stuff up there and go, yeah, well, batteries are difficult.
And the process of swapping out a new battery is probably a lot easier than the process of swapping out a new engine and full transmission.
I don't know.
Well, I would just,
you would hope it is.
You would hope
that the battery would just drop out the bottom and you plug it in with a new one.
Right.
Evan's
yeah, exactly.
Suspiciously quiet. Is he watching porn or does he not care?
Could be both.
Well, I mean, I
agree. I don't disagree with you on this one. I think you're right. I mean,
oh my God, we agree.
You get. I mean, what he's. Well, like it says, throwing shade. I mean, that's all he's doing. He's just being obstinate, trying to get some attention. They hope to sell a product, and they don't back that up with facts. It's just making noise.
Yeah,
it's tough to sell product when you're in the shade of Tesla.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I think the title of the show might be "Evan and Russell Agree on Something."
Well, let's throw that out to the chat room. Chat room, if you've got any title for the show, please suggest it. We're more than happy to read them out at the end of the show and take a vote on it. So please let us know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So David has, I think, German rocket scientists. I think is.
I mean,
it's not how he meant
it.
Might
be a little political, huh?
Right.
Well, speaking of Germany, we have a story about some Model 3s in Germany.
Yes, as reported back a couple weeks ago, we had got some shots of someone in the belly of a cargo plane loading up a couple of Model 3s on some skids that were being loaded on a plane that was heading to, surprise, Germany.
Wow. Why?
Whatever reason. Why? It must have been just a couple of Tesla customers that were just earning, just dying to get them on the Autobahn, I'm sure.
Right.
Well, as it turned out, that wasn't the case for these Teslas. Apparently, they were re-engineered. They were cut up. They were, I guess, sliced into thin pieces for the German automakers to examine. A German paper reported that one manufacturer paid $230,000 for one of the cars. And now there was possibly a consortium of manufacturers that got together on the price. It wasn't actually clear as to what that case was, but those cars were definitely taken to Germany to be taken apart and examined thoroughly, which they were, and I am sure they were not put back together. So they are now pieces and parts over some manufacturer's testing floor in Germany.
It might be missing a few screws at this point.
Might be, yeah. It's highly possible that a few screws either didn't make it in or were lost. Mm-hmm. But again, here on the show, we had said it looks pretty obvious that that's where it's going, and it turns out we were correct.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a couple of less Model 3s in the world today.
Wow.
And they're in pieces in Germany.
Now, it didn't say, of course, who sold the cars, but whoever did, they made a nice profit on that car.
Yeah,
no kidding.
I wouldn't hesitate to give up a spot for 230 grand.
Yeah, to sell that and then go buy your Roadster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. In fact, it's just crazy, huh?
Yep.
So without the actual death of the patient, have you guys talked about these Model 3 stripped videos that are out on YouTube.
We have not.
You're watching stripper videos?
Let's see, Evan. What do you got?
It's just about better. Oh, well, here I'll throw you a link to the first one. There's two of them, and some guy got his Model 3 and kind of took all the linings and things like that out of it and went through with his camera up close. And sounds like he's got a lot of knowledge, vehicle knowledge, and was able to describe all the various components that were kind of behind the lining in the frunk. And that's where he started in part one is all the stuff in the frunk when he took the lining and the stuff out of there. And it was pretty interesting. He was able to identify some interesting ways that they have the redundancy built into the braking system and where all the various high power things go. Little tidbits like there are no fuses in the Model 3, or everything is solid state. So it's kind of fascinating to see kind of the guts of what a Model 3 looks like. And then part two of the series, he puts it on a lift and goes underneath and into the trunk area, and you can see where all the high power lines and things come out of there. So he didn't actually destroy anything or pull it apart and beyond what he could do with just taking out the various things that prevent you from being able to see what's hidden behind. But it's still pretty interesting. And that's the first time I've really seen those kind of components. And it does really give you some of the insight. Like this article talks about how minimalist and clean. I mean, you look at this doesn't look anything like a modern internal combustion engine under the hood. Everything is just very clean, simple, easy to get to. And from what I've heard from the technicians as well, is that this vehicle is going to be very, very easy to repair. Everything is modular. You take out a few bolts, you take out one part, put in the new one, bolt it back down, and really not complex at all. So
and it's amazing that Tesla does go in and they put that frunk in, they cover everything with cloth or liner, and when you pop the front hood, it looks like all it is a storage bin. Because I've had even people come up to me and say, well, look at the bolt. It's got all this stuff under the hood. And look at the Tesla. There's nothing there. And it's like, no, it's all there. It's just hidden. It's beneath things. So that's kind of cool that people don't even realize that, they feel it's just a blank hole in there with a storage bin, and that's all there is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would not be surprised at all if there are engineers in Tesla who are working to try to further simplify and minimalist the entire layout.
Yep. Those are interesting to watch if you want to look them. There's just let's say strip Tesla Model 3 stripped part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, and that's from Engineerix is the YouTube user. INGINEERIX. Engineerix. Tesla Model 3 stripped. It's cool. It's very cool to get to see that,
Yeah, without having to spend $230,000 and destroy a car.
There you go, right?
Right.
I'm sure he was really careful when he was taking it apart.
Well, actually, he made the video for himself, so he would remember how to put it back together.
he was referring to his own video manual.
And then he's like, hey, I bet other people would want to watch this too.
There you go. Well, let's see. What are we talking about here? It looks like we're going back to Canada for our next story.
Amazing. It's the Canadian show here.
It must be about another division of Tesla.
Right. Tesla Energy has signed another deal, this time with the Nova Scotia Power Commission, Nova Scotia Power, in that eastern province of Canada. And they are basically doing a pilot where they're hooking up a number of power packs to an existing substation that is taking in power from a wind farm. And then in that same community, they've hooked up with 10 residents, and they're installing the Tesla Powerwalls in those 10 homes to take the power from the wind farm, to push it to the local homes, to save it on those local individual residences, and then of course use it overnight or when the residents require the power, as opposed to taking it from the grid. So this is a new project that Nova Scotia Power is trying out to see what the viability is of energy storage on both the residential side and on the utility side at the substation. So like we've seen in Australia and other places, this is certainly a smaller scale than what we've seen in Australia, but it's a great sign to see this happening in North America, and them testing out the viability of batteries on the grid as well as in homes. So the only downside is it wasn't my house. So
Right. How did you not get involved in this?
I don't know. I don't know why I didn't get the call, but it's there's a short video link that you can watch about 3 minutes long where they explain what they've been doing and talk to a homeowner that happily is receiving their Powerwall. Again, not me.
Wow.
But you're not bitter.
Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
I am. I'm bitter, but yeah.
Yeah, I swear to God, one of these days I'm going to find that podcast where I suggested putting batteries in garages and basements, and everyone said it was a stupid, not functional idea.
Yep, you said that last time, Tony.
I know. I'm just too lazy to do it.
I don't blame you, Tony. I don't blame you at all, man.
But I would absolutely love to have a Powerwall myself and some form of, solar and, whether it's a Tesla solar roof or, a generic solar roof, some other solar roof or something to a Powerwall. That to me would be, yeah. And I do believe, because I've been talking about having batteries in basements and garages for so long, I do believe that if we did more energy storage like this on a small scale residential level, that we could start shuttering some of the power plants that are out there and providing our electricity more naturally and with a lot less pollution.
So I don't argue with you at all. I think you're right. I think you're bang on the money.
If I had a flag, I'd be waving it right now.
There you go.
There you go. Well, let's go from waving flags to getting underground.
Our favorite digging company, the
Boring Company.
The Boring Co.
Yeah.
Just recently got permission from Washington, D.C. to start a dig within the city limits.
Wow.
And what this has indicated basically is that this could possibly be one of their first stations that they're going to be digging in the D.C. area. I believe it was 42nd Street, if I'm not mistaken. It could be a bit off, but it isn't within the city limits. They are scheduled to start digging now. Of course, the Boring Company isn't sharing with us what exactly they're doing, but the speculation is it is going to be some sort of a station or run into the start of a station. So this could be part of the run from Maryland that they're digging in a open field out there towards the city. Maybe this will be part of the test track. Again, that's speculation, but it's interesting to see that they're starting to get their ducks in a row. Although it is kind of sporadic. Like we don't get, there are meetings like in Los Angeles. There was a meeting about what they were doing. There was some opposition. It doesn't sound like, or maybe the information isn't getting out to the press that often, but it just seems that the wins for it seem to be, sporadic. They're not. Yeah. There's not a whole bunch of things to say. Okay, we've got this 8-mile test track that we're going to build in Washington to start it off. It's been pretty quiet, except for what people have gotten through documents and permit approvals. So that's where this information is coming from.
So maybe what you're talking about is a lack of transparency.
They're not. They are not publicizing it.
Right. Are you saying that perhaps the Boring Company is not functioning, let's say, above ground?
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, folks. That was a wonderful show. And I think we have a show title.
Or above board.
Above board. But I was actually thinking. I mean, the boring company is completely underground. So who's to say that they're not working on tunnels right now?
Yeah, they're not even applying for permits. They're just zipping the tunnels through, and nobody even knows they're there. Yeah,
why not? Right? Who cares?
they're just going to say service starts tomorrow.
Right. I just got a permit. We're done. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, so we're keeping our eyes on it. We'll watch, but looks like DC is going to get their first
Hole in
test
the ground.
station or first hole in the ground.
First
Exactly.
hole in the ground.
I'm sure they got lots of those.
Yeah. Me too. And maybe they'll get some flamethrowers out while they're there.
Possibly.
So now, David in the chat did mention that DC is essentially built on a swamp, and they do have issues with underground things like the metro, which he says was pretty expensive to put in. So, I
hope someone has looked into that. Yes.
Yes, and if you're like me and you just watch hours of Science Channel, and they do the engineering shows, and I mean, when you hit soft soil or wet soil, it's extremely hard to move, and then you constantly have to reinforce the walls. And I really do hope that someone did their homework.
Someone looked into it before they started digging. Yes, that would be a good idea.
So they haven't really. Are they getting the hole before the horse here? And I was trying to look. I remember they were having
make a joke.
They were having a contest for the design of the Hyperloop pod, and I don't think they picked a winner. In fact, there's a contest that's this year that entries aren't even due until after this summer.
For all we know, Evan, this could be for the sled version of it. We don't even know. We have no idea. So we've got the Hyperloop, like you said. There's a competition at SpaceX for making pods, and they're testing them on a track that they already have there, an actual tube. But we don't know what this is. We don't know if it's one of those electric car sleds or if it's a Hyperloop or a combination of. So
this is a tunnel for Canadian gnomes.
There it is.
I'm going to bring it all together.
There you go.
And it's got the dimensions of the pods for the competition for this year. Has to be less than 1,500 kilograms. Minimum 5 feet long. Maximum length 24 feet. Has to fit in the cross section provided by the SpaceX Hyperloop test track specifications, whatever that is. Huh. I don't know. Just seems like you'd want the pod design before
finalized.
You put the hole, right?
Well, but we know that a boring machine makes a hole of this dimension. So, screw the design as long as it's not bigger than the hole.
All right. We're gonna lay down these tracks and then we'll build a train around it.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
I guess we'll see. We'll see.
I think Mark has something a little more above ground.
Yes.
This time.
We've got some photos of the Model 3 white interior that were spotted recently at an OSH store, a hardware store in
that's Orchard Supply Hardware. For
there you
those
go.
Of you that don't live in California.
OSH.
Yeah.
So this passerby noticed this at a hardware store, got the phone out, took a couple photos of the white interior, and the back of the seats, or the front seats, are in black. You've got the another interesting thing is up here on the dash that's usually wood grain. It's white. So they've made a white stripe across the dash where the wood grain was normally.
That won't pick up any fingerprints.
No. There's no VIN number?
And before he could take a picture of the VIN, the owner came out and chased him away.
Oh,
chased him away?
I mean, that's the first thing I get.
I know, that's the first thing you do.
But I mean, there's only one kind of vehicle that has no VIN, and that's a prototype.
Well, this photographer, this paparazzi, indicated that he wasn't able to get the VIN. So he was going to get it, but it was the last thing on his checklist, and the owner came out and he decided to vacate the premises at that time.
Hightail it, huh?
But it was mentioned that the plates were Tesla plates, manufacturer plates. So yes, this is probably a prototype.
It's probably a prototype. Yeah, it's got manufacturer plates, please.
Yep.
Honey, we're out of lumber. Take the Tesla prototype.
Load it up. Who cares?
Load it up. It's not ours.
Right.
Drive it like a rental.
Let me just take the car with the white interior to the hardware store.
Exactly.
To get stuff, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I'm going to need about 3 pounds of mulch. Just put it in the back of the Tesla, please.
No bag required. Just dump it in with the front end loader. We're good.
In the front. That's what the front.
There we go. There we go.
Man.
So if you've got any pictures out there, people, please feel free to send them into our Twitter feed or Facebook. Also, please follow us throughout the week. We're always posting information and pictures throughout the week at our Twitter feed at The Tesla Life or on our Facebook page, The Tesla Life, #1. So,
And for the love of God, people, start with the VIN.
We need to post rules.
Post rules, yeah.
I don't think that's a rule, but it's just nice. Well, yeah, it's like a rule of thumb, right?
Yeah.
right.
I don't know. That's funny. I mean, I don't know. It's weird that we're collecting VINs. And has anybody gone so far as to create a Tesla VIN database? No.
There is.
Oh.
There are Tesla VIN databases out there. Yes. We are not controlling one, but they are available for people to look up on Google.
I just wanted to know if there was some resource, you know.
It's the internet, Russell. Of course, someone's collecting VIN numbers.
Yeah, good point.
Where there's a Google Doc, there's a VIN database.
Bingo.
Speaking of the internet and someplace for everything, here's a very unusual SpaceX update from Evan.
Yeah, so Tesla's got their drone ships with their fun names, but and they've been recovering their boosters. But one thing that we've known that they've been working on is fairing recoveries. Another expensive piece. So the fairings are the things at the top of the second stage that blow off the sides and expose the satellites or whatever the cargo is to space once they're outside of Earth's atmosphere. And they usually fall back to Earth and burn up on the way down, and we never see them again. But those things are really, really expensive. And as part of Tesla's cost-saving plan, making flying rockets less expensive, they've been working on plans to recover the fairings along with the first stage boosters and eventually the second stage of the rocket as well. So fairing version 2.0 is supposed to be launching with the PAZ launch that Tony mentioned earlier. And so they've purchased a brand new, I think they're just leasing a brand new ship that is going to go out in the ocean to recover these fairings. And is it going to use a boring old hook on the end of a crane to pick these things up out of the ocean? No, that would not be Elon Musk's way.
No challenge in that.
No, that would be boring. He has basically what amounts to...
Wait, he has a boring company.
He's already got a boring company.
A giant net a la the type that the man that gets shot out of the cannon and lands into. Except this thing is suspended over the top of this ship that's going to go out into the ocean and attempt to catch these fairings as they float back to Earth. It sounds like it's going to be quite a challenge because a fairing is not like a rocket. It's going to have, I think there's a little bit of propulsion on these things. But it's not like the boosters that are going to be highly accurate in their ability to land and slow down. And they're big fat sails basically up in the air. And so the winds are going to make it a lot more challenging to accurately land them. But their plan is to go out and try to catch these things in these giant circus nets.
Yeah. Just going to play a little catch in the water. That's all.
Right. And boats are notoriously not very good at sitting out in the water and going, okay, here it is.
It was kind of cool that anyone want to guess at how much those two fairings together cost Tesla to put on a rocket?
I think Matt knows in the chat.
Yes, Matt does know. Matt does know in the chat.
Oh,
right.
$6 million for 2 halves.
You're
So
kidding me.
$3 million apiece. So if they were to save one or both of them, it has a significant savings on the project. So that's what they're trying to do.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously, man. I mean, you can save that much money every launch, and return that to your customers to sell your product at a lower cost, and it's a big deal. And the fairings aren't critical; they're just aerodynamic components. But you got to have them on every rocket. So
Yeah, for $12 million a pair,
Yeah.
it's probably worth catching them. And I say that, of course, very tongue in cheek. It's totally worth catching them. Well, we've got a few more stories here to kind of wrap things up.
Yep. Last major story is about the Tesla Semi. So just today, a video surfaced on the internet of the Tesla Semi being tested in the streets of Southern California.
Could it look like this?
That could be it. That
Look at
absolutely
that
could be it.
thing. Isn't
And
that cute? Whoa, wait.
What you'll notice when you watch the video is as the truck goes by, he lays into the throttle so hard that the back wheels actually smoke as it's moving down the road.
Let's
So
see.
he is actually spinning the tires.
Let's see. Is there volume? No.
I think there is if you watch the video yourself, but
Yeah, and what you see is there's a white.
You see the
Printing.
smoke.
Yeah, there's white printing on the road on the right lane, and when he reaches that, he lays into it and lays down 2 patches of rubber.
Nice. Those truck tires are expensive. You need to be more responsible, young man.
Right.
We're not going to let you drive the semi anymore.
I could just see that being some old truck driver that just cannot imagine the power of this vehicle and is just going out laying black strips of rubber everywhere he can.
Yeah.
Having a great old time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of cool to see the semi lighten up the car, the tires like it was a sports car.
It's pretty impressive. Damn.
Absolutely. So, hey Daimler, maybe you should take a look at the video because it looks like they're doing things. All right.
Paging Martin Daum. Martin Daum, please come to the White House phone. Yeah, no, we're gonna leave that alone.
Your 2 Tesla trucks are ready.
Well, I think this is where I always get caught up. I think that's all the news we have for tonight.
And you'd be wrong.
Of course, I'm always wrong.
Just as a last thing, we were able to catch this information today about a new VIN number for the Model 3. A new high score, if you would.
Woo.
So we are now into the 8225 area. So that was shown earlier this week on another, I believe it was the TMC site. So there you go. We've got Reddish Arctic spotted this and recorded it and posted it. So keep those VINs coming. We like to see them. We like the video evidence or the picture evidence so that we can show everybody it does exist.
And of course, speaking of the VINs, that so Matt shared with us on Twitter at Model 3 VINs.
There you go.
A Twitter account.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, don't forget to send it to us. We want that too.
And David Glatfelty says that Bloomberg has one. I have to find out where that is, but yeah.
I had no idea.
I
had no idea. Well, let's do some shout outs and go home, gentlemen, because we're running long. Evan. I got
nothing.
Wow.
Did
I just like doing that too.
Did I shout out to Susan Nelson yet, who used my referral code?
I would suggest you shout out to Susan again.
Absolutely.
Hey, thank you, Susan. I appreciate it. Now I figured out who Susan is, actually. Did I say that?
No, you did not. Oh, I think that's right. You did mention it. It was a connection to you.
Yeah,
somehow.
my partner's wife. So yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
Wait, your partner's wife? Whatever. I don't know what what
You're just
Don't
jealous,
stays
Tony.
in Arkansas.
Don't go
what's
there,
done
Tony.
in
Don't
Arkansas
dig
stays
deeper,
in
Tony.
Arkansas.
Don't. In fact,
Don't.
Tony,
It's late in the program.
how about your shout outs?
Of course, I'm going to shout out to everybody who's in the chat room.
Yes.
Yes, I enjoy having everybody there.
That's
Yeah, so Bloomberg does have one up there. Thank you, Derek. And it's bloomberg.com/graphics/2008-Tesla/tracker. I found it on Google just by Googling Bloomberg Tesla VIN tracker. And it's actually a pretty good web page. And they have a link where you can submit your own Model 3 VIN. So that's kind of cool.
Very good.
nice. Very nice. Mr. Coughlin.
Just thank you for everyone for watching the program. And if you can, please help us out by going to the YouTube page, pressing the subscribe button, and joining us by getting automatic alerts every time the show starts. So please help us out. We would love to have you subscribe and join the program in that way.
That was me begging. Please.
Please.
Please do it. Come on. Just hook up a brother, would you? Or two. My thanks to our panel, Evan, Tony, and Mark. Thanks so much for doing another exciting episode. My favorite sort of Douglas Adams-esque episode, 42 for the Tesla Life. Thank you for that. Got to give credit to Adams whenever I can. Of course, thank you to all of our friends in the chat room. Chat room rocks. Thanks very much for hanging out with us live. And I think we're going with the Boring Company, not operating above ground. I think that's going to be the title. Of the show.
There was some other putting the hole before the horse was a pretty good one.
Yeah, that one.
That was good too.
That was good on Evan's part. Yeah.
I hate quoting Evan because then he makes me send him money. It's just that's the problem. Like,
Daddy need the new Model 3.
Yeah. I gotta promote his referral code or something. I don't know.
And thanks, of course, to Lee Moon, who has provided our music free of charge to use. Thank you, Lee.
Wrote, performed, and lets us use it. And the music you're about to hear right now. Tune in next week and find out what is going on in the Tesla life. See ya.
Whoa, that's loud.